Howdy folks, D-Vang here. Welcome back to the Apple Turnover Gang. Last episode, adventuring into the mines, doing some exploration. Did not go quite as well as we had hoped. We did get some experience, but not much. We did get a lot of Darkstone. We actually got 7 pieces of Darkstone, which is pretty good. Not much else, because we couldn't really complete. We did finish one encounter, but we did not finish the second. It was also a very short episode, per se. I mean, it was still took a while, but there were only 2 sets of enemies. The first set being the Scafford gang with a lieutenant, which we did beat up, and then the second one being the Wasteland Terralisk and 2 Darkstone Brutes, which kicked our butt. There's not much more to say about that. The big deal was we ended up getting kind of trapped in a room where we could not use any grit, and so that was difficult and dangerous. Not much else we can do. We do have to do some cleanup from the end of the last session. So just to keep in mind that we failed the last episode, as I think I kind of mentioned there. So what that means is, for traveling, we are definitely having the failure was the darkness escapes the mine and lays waste to the roads and towns. So when we travel to town after this adventure, we each roll twice to see if we add a travel hazard. Also, 1 random building in town has been destroyed by the darkness. Obviously, we're going to go to a large town, because I never don't. So that is going to be definitely 1 travel hazard per hero, plus 2 rolls per hero. And we have 2 injuries to deal with. Beschamel and Doc were both knocked out. So we need to figure out what their injuries are, unfortunately. So definitely, hopefully, there's going to be a doctor's office. And then Doc will have a chance to heal somebody once we get into town. It's a possibility. I don't know that we necessarily want to. But especially, maybe we want to wait until Beschamel gets some luck points, because she does not have any luck right now. Because when we start traveling, we reset to 1 grit. We do not recover a grit. And she only gets her fortune starting with each adventure, or through catching her breath after a fight, or from abilities. Since we ran, she didn't catch her breath, so she doesn't recover a grit. And so therefore, she doesn't catch her breath, so she doesn't get a new fortune. So she's starting traveling with 0 fortune. So we need to find a way. In fact, that would be one of the ways to... It might be really worth it once we start getting in some money. Is letting her carry around tonics, because then that lets her gain grit, and so that's a grit and a fortune for her. But everybody does reset to 1. We do have Pete, who can spend a grit to attempt to cancel a travel hazard, which will be nice. We don't really have anything to sell. Really the only item we picked up was the Void Lantern, which is, nice. Not saying it isn't, but it's not something that we're probably going to want to sell. So other than selling the Darkstone, which we may want to do. But anyway, I getting ahead of myself. So the cleanup we have to do for the end of the last adventure is find out what our 2 injuries are, and then rolling for potential corruption. So right now, Beschamel has 2 corruption, Doc has 0, Pete has 4. His ribbon, though, does say at the end of each adventure he can remove a corruption, so we're going to take off 1 corruption, so he has 3 corruption. Now, let's go ahead and roll and see what our 2 injuries are for them. So, Beschamel, what is her injury? And this actually occurs, I guess, before traveling. So, trying to remember, I think Doc had 2 grit, as I recall. I don't remember if I think Beschamel had a grit left too. I think she was knocked out because again we couldn't use grit. So, and I am pretty sure that doesn't apply because we're not really in the mines after we've run. So she gets a 10, which is a chest wound. She would be -1 initiative. Oh, but we can't use grit to do chart rolls. Okay, so she's -1 initiative. That's definitely one that I would want to get fixed. Her initiative 5 has been nice because there are a bunch of enemies that go at 4, right? And also, we like her going before everybody else because she has the breaching gun with stun tokens reducing down the defense. Alright, and now what happens to Doc? Doc gets a 7, is a concussion. So until the start of the next adventure, he's -1 initiative and 1 less dice on all skill tests. Alright, so that is actually going to go away. So that's actually not bad. It just means in town he's 1 less dice to all skill tests, which sucks, don't get me wrong. Luckily, his field surgery is not a skill test. It is simply a 5+ on a single D6 roll. And that heals the injury. And he can do that once per adventure. He spends the grit, right? And then he also has, and on a 1, the hero loses 1 health permanently. So that is, but it doesn't cost any money, obviously, to do that. So I think if we can get Beschamel a fortune point, then she'll be able to adjust Doc's roll to get it close to the 5, or at least try to get rid of the 1, right? But there we go. Now we need to check for corruption. So I've given all of... Doc has the 3+ willpower and no corruption points. So I'm going to give all 7 of the Darkstone to him. Pete has 3 corruption. He also has the Gunfighter's Pistol, which is worth 1. So let's see if he has to deal with the corruption. He does not from the pistol. Now I need 7 dice. This is where we kind of want to get a tomb chest at this point. Although we'll probably sell all of this, because again, we wanted to get him a couple weapons. So, rather than the single vicious axe. So, let's see what we can do here. 7 dice. Let's see how many corruption hits he takes. He takes 2, because it's a 1, 2, or 3. And there's those. So now he gets his willpower saves. 3+, so he takes 1 point of corruption, which I think is fine. I think that's fine. Awesome. So, we're traveling to a large town. Let us see what we have as far as travel hazards. Red will be the first digit, and hopefully I will read these properly this time. I apologize for the last time, for whatever reason, thinking the 6s were 5s. I guess it was the 5 points of the star because I was using the blue dice, and the star, has the 5 stars. So I'm going to do red and purple with red. Hopefully you guys can see it well enough. with red being the first digit. So let's see for the automatic one for Beschamel. Is actually, I probably should roll to see. I'm going to take that back. Roll to see how many travel hazards we actually have total, and then roll. So it's a 1, 2, or 3. We get an additional travel hazard. So let's roll for Beschamel. So sorry about that, folks. Unbeknownst to me, my camera shut off and skipped. It didn't record a bunch of the stuff that I had started doing as far as the travel hazards. I had actually done both of the travel hazards for Beschamel, and Doc just had his one automatic, and then I rolled 2 failures, or 2 additional travel hazards for Pete, which I hadn't run through. So let me just kind of recreate what we missed here. So Beschamel had 2 travel hazards, and this way I won't get kind of lost. They weren't too horrible. Actually, I kind of like them first. So her first, see if I even remember, it was a 53. Circling vultures. Every hero had to make a Spirit 5+ test. Then they gain 10 experience and heal D3 sanity. If they fail, they take D3 sanity damage, ignoring willpower, so that carries over. So Beschamel had failed, and she took 2 sanity points. Both Doc and, surprisingly, P, both with only 1 die rolling, managed to pass that, so no skin off their back there. The second travel hazard for Beschamel, she had 2, was wrecked train. She had rolled a 46. The twisted hulk of a wrecked train fills the valley below, mangled and half buried in the rubble and debris. It must have jumped the track or been forced off. Looks like it has been here for a while. So each hero can either choose to pass down, or to pass it by without going down, or you can try to climb down. If you search the wrecked train, you make a cunning 5+ test. If you fail, you exhaust yourself trying to find a way inside without any luck. Discard any grit you have. If passed, roll a d6 to see what you find inside the train. So Beschamel had passed her cunning test. She had 4 dice. Doc with 3 dice, -1, if it was 4 -1 because of his injury, had failed. He spent his 1 grit because he was going to lose it anyway to re-roll, and had passed. And Pete had passed with his 3 cunning. So all 3 of them will get to look at the wrecked train, and that's kind of where we are. That's kind of caught up. So yeah, not a lot happened, but I'm very excited to see what happens here in the wrecked train. Now, Beschamel has no fortune points to modify these rules, even if she could. I had just kind of mentioned, I'm not exactly sure. Obviously, you can't use grit to modify chart rolls, and this is a roll on the chart. So I'm assuming, it's kind of like a chart in a chart. So as per the FAQ, you can't use grit to modify most chart rolls. It does make me wonder. Again, it's kind of moot in this instance because she doesn't actually have any points. But the gambling tricks say cannot target a die that is specifically excluded from using grit, such as hold back the darkness. I don't know the wording of the FAQ right now. I don't actually have that right in front of me, but that's something I'm going to need to look up. Is would that FAQ ruling preclude her from also using the fortune? Because it would be really nice if she could use that, fortune. I understand grit, but the fortune's kind of this, kind of nebulous thing, and it would be nice if she could use that to, say, ameliorate the D6 roll. Because 2 through 5 is gold, 6 is a precious find, so that's going to be an artifact. A 1 is they just simply get a madness. So that's going to be kind of crappy if that happens, but we'll see. So all three get to make a roll and see what they get. So that is the point. We're hoping for a 6, but anywhere from a 2 to a 5 is going to be good. So let's see what Beschamel rolls. She rolls a 5, so we're going to get money. D6 times 50. Alright, so she gets 200 gold. Alright. Awesome. We need as much money as we can get because we want to get replacement weapons, melee weapons for Doc. Replace that vicious axe with a hatchet and a knife to give him +1 combat and +1 damage rather than +1 initiative and +1 damage. Because more dice equals win. At least in my opinion, in general. Although obviously getting through defense has been a challenge for our heroes as well. So criticals would be nice too, but with the lack of extra damage, the more dice, especially if we manage to get some lower defense enemies. Alright, let us see what Doc rolls. He rolls a 6. Perfect. So he gets an artifact. Let's see what that artifact is. Alright, and we drew the Targa Plateau for the location of the world, and the artifact is... No way! Well, that is certainly a bit of luck. The plasma sword. So it uses a D8 for damage instead of a D6, and it keeps him +1 initiative. So we just simply need, and it's one-handed. So, wow. Okay. That is honestly complete luck. We've actually had a fair amount of luck in towns, other than, some of the other things closing. If only they would translate, that luck would translate as far as adventures. But, perfect. So now, rather than he doesn't have the +1 damage, but his hits do a D8 instead. So, D6 +1, 1D8. They're actually, pretty comparable. You have a higher max with a D8, but you do kind of have a higher average with the D6 +1. I know there's been a big debate as far as that on the boards on what's better, especially for things like the rancher's hunting rifle, right? Which is D6 +2. I think the D8, the D6 +2 and D8 are really close. The D8 slightly edges out D6 +1. So that's more of what we need. Awesome. Well, now to jinx myself and say, so that means Pete's going to be the one that rolls the 1 and gets the -1 health. Although he does have the most health of all of them, so that's better than, say, Beschamel rolling it. But let's see what Pete gets. He gets a 4. All right, so still just some moolah, which again, this will be useful. It's only 100, so not great, but honestly, every little bit helps. That'll let us stock up more on bandages and whiskey. And said we, potentially get. I would say definitely want to get an extra die for Doc. So I think that's the hunting knife, but there might be another item that will get him that. I mean, it would certainly be interesting to get him something that does +1 damage, but and so then he's doing a D8 +1. But I still think more dice, especially since he's rolling the D8 for damage, would be useful as well. Would be nice. So let us continue on with our traveling, though. Those were Bechamel's 2, so now we have Doc's travel hazard. So again, red die is going to be first. And we get a... Oh, jeez, I rolled 2 red dice, didn't I? Let me re-roll that then. For some reason, I apologize. I thought I had a red and a purple. Alright, so we have a 64. What is a 64? 64 is a search party. You come across a search party scouring the land for a lost child taken in the night by a dark creature. They seem beaten down and weary as they tell you that this is the 5th child to have been taken and none have returned. Each hero can decide to press on to their destination or stop and help. Any hero that decides to help must make a Spirit 6 Plus test. If at least 3 successes are rolled between all heroes, the child's found. We get an extra D6 times 100 and can remove D3 corruption points. Otherwise, the child is lost for good and every hero that helped loses 1 sanity permanently. Well, considering between the 3 of them we have 3 dice and we need 3 successes, I think we're going to have to skip. So, no loss. I would love to help and get the extra money, but Spirit just is not our strong suit. If it had been cunning, to track them down, or even luck, although our luck isn't all that great, but, it's not bad for Beschamel, per se. Alright, and now we have 3 travel hazards for Pete. Now, he does have the ability to use his grit to attempt to cancel one, so if we get one that's really bad. So the first one is a 44, which is rail line construction. You pass by a group of mutant rail workers working the cut to build a new rail line into the area. Recognizing you as heroes in the fight against darkness, they cheer. Each hero may heal 2d6 wounds or sanity, any mix. Also, each hero may recover 1 grit for each mutation they have. Because the mutant rail workers cheer louder for the champions of mutant kind. Well, nobody has a mutation yet, anyway. Doc will, I guess, he does have a few sanity points. Or, sorry, Beschamel, I mean. 2d6, so she's automatically going to recover the 2 sanity. So, nice. Nice. No grit recovery, unfortunately. Great. Alright, 1 down, 2 to go. So the next one is a 63. And the 63 being a snake oil salesman. You meet a traveling salesman on the road who excitedly opens up the sides of his cart and shows you his wares. He spins a good yarn about the medicinal quality of his tonics. Each hero must make a Cunning 5 Plus test. If passed, you recognize a scam when you see one and pass. Alright. Well, at least Cunning is or better. Beschamel succeeds, so she is not fooled. Doc only gets 3 dice because until the next adventure he's -1, but he still succeeds. And then Pete gets 3 dice, and he succeeds. So none of us are fooled by this snake oil salesman. Perfect. All right, and then the last one is a 52. What is a 52, you ask? I will tell you. A 52 are bandits. Waylaid by bandits on the road, the heroes fend off as many as they can. The bandits surround each hero individually. There are 5 bandits per hero, and each hero must roll a d6 to see how many of those bandits they defeat. For every bandit you defeat, gain 10 experience. For each of your 5 bandits you do not defeat, lose $25, 1 Darkstone, or 1 gear or artifact of your choice. Ow. That sucks. You know what? Pete's going to spend his grit to attempt to cancel this one. So, a 3 or better. Phew! Alright. That is a handy ability. And it actually cancels it. So, it's not replaced or anything else. Using his cowboy ways. So good. Well, that worked out well. So, and that was the last one. So we survived the traveling. So now we need to see what type of town it is. Is there a specialty town? It is a 6, so it is not a specialty town. It is a standard town. So, I think, let's see, there's nothing special, so we'll draw, and then obviously we'll roll to see which one is destroyed. Alright, so the first one is a mutant quarter. The next one is a frontier outpost. We have the sheriff's office. We need a doctor, would be very nice. We have a church. We have a smuggler's den. We have a saloon. We have a doctor's office. And we have a general store. Okay, so what has been closed? Let's see what's been closed. 2, the frontier outpost has been closed because of the darkness and our failure. So now let us see what we get for our daily event. We have daily town event, no effect, and it's not a specialty town, so nothing happens. All right. Well, we have a fair amount of money, so I think the first thing is everybody's going to the doctor's office to remove their corruption, and well, do I spend the money to heal for the surgery? Is there... actually, you know what? Maybe I should wait one turn. Because then Beschamel can go to the saloon, and she'll be able to recover a grit at the saloon, as I recall, by visiting one of the performances. Yep. On a 4, 5, or 6, she could recover a grit. So that could be useful. I mean, there's just a chance. And then, of course, she can attempt to entertain people with either agility or lore. And she gets a... No, okay, she doesn't get... Oh, and she recovers a grade if she does a cunning test. Anytime you use a cunning test, will be once per turn. I guess that would be per day. So... but that would let her recover grit. So that's probably good. And then she could use that to affect his roll, which I think would be for healing her injury. So I think that would be a good thing to do. I mean, the doctor is slightly better because it's a 4+, but it's also a chart, right? And on a 1, it's botched and can never be healed, as opposed to simply removing a permanent health. So let's wait on that. We don't have a blacksmith, and we don't have the frontier outpost for selling of the Darkstone. Oh, and we don't have the blacksmith for the tomb chest either, huh? Can we sell... Is there any other place we can sell... Smuggler... Well, there's the Smuggler's Den, and there's also the back alley dock, which is not a place to go. I don't think we want to... I don't know that I want to necessarily use the Smuggler's Den. How much... Okay, what can we do at the Sheriff's Office? Hangman's News, Duelist Gun Belt. Ooh. Well, we don't have 5,800 though, because that's dual wielding. Each gun gets +1 shot, which would be nice. Could get deputized. But I don't know that we want to worry about doing that. So we do have the saloon. That's where Beschamel is going to go. We could still go to the doc's office to get rid of... Yeah, because she's going to want to go anyway. So Doc and Doc and Pete can still go to the doctor's office. And we don't have the blacksmith. Mutant Quarter doesn't really have anything we want. I mean, I can get whiskey and bandages there, so nothing else interesting. Now, we did want to get... How much was the Tools of Science? 4,800? Yeah, we don't have nearly enough, and that's kind of what we want to save up for. But we do have the general store. Actually, we don't even necessarily need to go to the general store, although she's going to the saloon so she can just buy a bunch of whiskey. We don't actually need necessarily a whole lot, but... And then, what do we got? So, the Smuggler's Den, I don't think I want... I could go back to the black market goods, which is a possibility. That's just a bunch of work. The Sheriff's Office, I don't think we want to go to. What else? The Mutant Quarter doesn't really have anything other than you can get both whiskey and bandages there. The Outpost is closed, so we have the general store. The church, is the church going to be anything of use? We could get some saves. They can potentially get rid of some corruption. I don't know that that's worth it. Street Market, what can we get at Street Market? Bathhouse. And we can sell Darkstone at the Bathhouse. It's not as much as doing it at the Mutant Quarter, or I mean at the Frontier Outpost, because it's only times 20 instead of times 25. But it's also a peril die times 20 as opposed to a d6 times 25. Let's see. The other question is, do we try to keep some? We can't get the tomb chest. Do we try to keep some Darkstone? To add anything to anybody? Well, so what have we got? Pete's got his pistol, which has 2 slots. His regular starting pistol, which could get a grip. Oh, you know what? We're in town. Let's go ahead and sell the Vicious Axe for 500. Because I know we are selling the Vicious Axe. Because we've got the lightsaber. So we need another one-handed weapon for Doc. We do have like what, 1,000, 1,300. We have like 1,300 gold right now, which is not a lot. What else can we get? The breaching gun has 1. Oh, we were interested in getting the barrel for +4 range, which would require 6 on the breaching gun, because it's only got a range of 4. But you know what? I think we're just going to sell it all. So let's do that instead. Let's simply say Doc, he's only got 1 corruption, although Pete does get to remove 1 for free each turn, each at the end of each adventure as well. So, but we're going to spend another day. So let's go ahead and say Doc. Doc is going to go to. Wait a minute. Why was I saying street market? I don't know why I was saying the street market. We don't have a street market. So, yep, church, saloon, doc's office, smuggler's den. Okay, so there's really nothing. There's really nothing to do. We do need more stuff, and I guess we're just going to hold out. I guess we're just going to hold out for the tools of science. No, well, I'm going to take that back. We do want to buy. Well, actually, can we even buy? Where was that combat knife that we found? Is it anything that we actually can? Oh, it was at the Frontier Outpost, which is closed. The mutant quarter, we can't get anything other than the rail hammer, which is a 2-handed weapon. So that won't be helpful. Is there? I don't think there's anything at the saloon. Nothing at the sheriff's office for melee weapons. I mean, we need to get something, right? So he needs to get something into his second hand. So is there any place we can get any one-handed melee weapon? We can get a... No, the Shiv is a free attack item. Get some armor. Oh, actually, but Saloon Heroes only, not gamblers. Okay, that makes sense. Outlaws only, holdout pistol, illegal ammo. Range weapons only at the sheriff's office. I don't think we care about either one of those. Yeah, mutant quarter. Okay, well, what can we get at the general store? Still no melee weapons. Just especially the ammo, shotgun, hunting rifle, light pistol, armor, hats, ponchos, things like that. Doctor's office has the bone saw, but it's just a grit to permanently reduce their defense to 0, which, I mean, that's expensive for just being able to do that, and that is going to be using up grit. I don't know that I want to use that. Can we do anything at the church? I mean, we could get... If Doc becomes holy, so he converts, he gets +1 spirit, and the keyword holy means he can't go to the saloon, so that's not a big deal. And then he could get a holy book, which is one-handed, which gives him +1 combat. Okay, for 800. And then 500 to be converted. What does that do? I don't know if we have enough. 5, 6, 7, 800, 500. We actually do have just enough. We've got like 170, 180 bucks left. not counting what Beschamel will be able to get when she gambles. You know what? I think that's what we're going to have to do. It's kind of weird, but it's gonna have to do. We can't. The cross can't is. And actually, that would be interesting too. Eventually, you could actually get the Cross of Vengeance, which is, if he's at less than full health, his combat hits are +1 damage. Less at half health, his combat hits are +2 damage. But we do want more combat dice. So in lieu of, since we cannot pick up, because that darn Frontier Outpost is destroyed, which kind of makes sense, I guess. The Darkness did that. The option is the Bone Saw or converting in the Holy Book. Converting in the Holy Book is going to be a little more expensive, but it does give him the option to pick up some of these additional holy items, though. So even though the +1 faith doesn't make a difference for him, and it's going to be a little bit worse overall than, more expensive than buying the knife, it does give him option to, say, like, picking up some Scrolls of Protection to let him try to cancel Darkness, or the Icon of Resistance to reroll a single failed defense roll, or the Sensor of Illumination, which could be useful. Sorry, no, that actually wouldn't be useful because that is a faith roll for sermons. Or even the Holy Robes as a quick +3 health. Not that he, that's necessarily the best thing. There are a couple things that could be useful for him, and I see no other option for a one-handed item, and it's kind of a waste if we don't get him a second melee weapon. So let's go ahead and... So he's going to go ahead and do that. So he's... Doc's going to go to the church. That's what we're going to do. Alright. That is the plan. And then next turn, someone will go to the general store to pick up the whiskey that we need to even out. Now we do have... Doc has one whiskey, everybody else has used up everything, and we did want to pick up a few more either herbs or bandages. I believe we really want bandages though, because his bandages heal +3. So it's a D6 plus, or sorry, D6 plus, yeah, D6 plus 3 or 2D6. So, kind of hurts my head, but 4 to 9 or 2 to 12. I would rather, since we, don't have a lot of health right now, or, we got anywhere from 10, 12, and 14. The 2d6 isn't necessarily going to be great, and having that higher minimum, so even if we roll poorly, will be useful. So let's go ahead and start. We do need to make sure we have enough money for the corruption. So it's $100 each for the corruption on Pete. So actually, we need to change this around because Pete can't actually go this turn because of what we're doing. But so Pete's gonna go. He's gonna go to the church. No, because Doc has to go to the church because he has to He has to get holy. Bloom. All right. You know what? Pete is gonna go gamble as well. Doc's gonna go to the church. Doctor's office next turn for everybody. And then that should give us enough money. So right now, Doc has all the money. We're just going to give him all the money. Well, almost all of those. Save like $50 for Pete and Beschamel, since they're going to need some money to start gambling. Yep, costs 50. Hopefully they'll score enough to do craps. Actually, Beschamel needs 100 because we also want to try to get her a grit. So let's start with that. So let's start with, Doc at the saloon. Or, sorry, Doc at the church. Goodness, man, what is up with me? All right, Doc at the church. So what happens with Doc at the church? A 7, faith to the Forsaken, no event. All right. So that is what he's going to do. I'm not worrying about banishing corruption. No exorcism madness, no resurrection. So he is going to convert for 500. Boom. He is now holy. So he's +1 spirit. Great. So he now actually has a 3 spirit. So he is going to be our spirit guy if we ever have something that gives us a choice for somebody who's spirit. And that's actually not bad to at least have one person with a decent spirit. And he's keyword holy. Then he is able to purchase the holy book for 800. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, leaving him with 30 bucks. But he gets a holy book, which is +1 combat. So now he has 3 dice hitting on 4s, and they do D8 points of damage. That is all he's going to do. That we are done with the church. All right. So now Pete and Beschamel are at the saloon. So Beschamel at the saloon. Oops, in the box would be good. So 6, dark tidings. She starts the adventure with 1 less grit than normal. That sucks. That would be better, something better for Pete, since he can attempt to recover grit. Oh, speaking of which, he spent his grit at the start of, during the traveling, so at the start of each day in town, he can attempt to recover a grit, which I forgot to do. So he actually does get a grit. Not that it matters for this, but it will matter for his gambling. So, and he has for a spilled drink. You can either leave town at the end of the day or buy him and his friends another round of drinks costing D6 times 25. Crap. Alright. So, this is where it kind of comes into, kind of a sketchy situation. If we do Beschamel gambling, and they're both at the same location, can she then give some of her winnings to Pete so that he can gamble? I don't see why not. And this is co-op, so let's see how much it costs him. Holy crap. So, 6, that's way more than we have. So, you know what? Pete has to leave at the end of the day. Yeah, he can't afford to pay. So Pete's not going to be able to get rid of his corruption. But it's the end of the day, so he will get to participate in gambling at the saloon. And purchasing... Actually, I guess we can purchase whiskey here. So, what do we start with? And it might be useful to get lucky dice for Beschamel to get her +1 luck. Okay. I'm going to let... You can add another die to a single die roll. Alright. But we'll start with Beschamel. Beschamel is going to... We'll start with casual poker. She spends... Saloon girl performance. So she gets... That's 10 more experience. And then a D6, 4, 5, or 6, she recovers a grit. She does not. So that is unfortunate. And then she will go ahead and gamble. So 50 bucks for the casual poker. Cunning, 5+ test. She has 5 dice for cunning. 50 bucks for every 5+ rolled. And she does have grit. Is it useful to spend that grit? I don't think so. I think she'll want that for the luck test. Because that's worth actually more money. So, excellent. So now she gets 150 back. Alright. Great. That gets her enough to do... Oh, and whenever you gamble, she gets an extra D6 times 50. So she gets an extra 200. Then, so she will spend 100 to run craps, which is a luck 5+ test. So 3 4 dice. And that's what the grit's for. One success, so she just breaks even on that, which is unfortunate. Oh, but she, wait. Oh, yeah, she already had a grit. She gains a grit, though, because she did the recover one for passing with the licking glass. Because she passed the cunning test. So, that gets her a fortune point. Perfect. Alright, Pete, he's going to spend his $50, make his cunning test. Alright, and he makes his $50. So, you didn't gain anything, but you didn't lose anything. Oh, you know what? Since he's going to have to leave anyway, he might as well roll, spend his grit and roll. Perfect! Great, so he actually gains an extra $100. Excellent. And then let's go ahead and buy whiskey. So we're going to buy 2 more whiskeys for 100, so that everybody has 1 whiskey. So yeah, basically, Doc already had one, so Beschamel and Pete are both buy a whiskey. And that is the end of day 1. Okay, Pete has to leave because at the time he did not have enough money. And let us see if there is an event. There is not. So day 2, what is the daily event for day 2? Spend some more money for them staying in town. So we have a mob riot. Each hero can attempt to help quell the riot by making a strength 4+ test. If failed, the hero is knocked over the head, taking D6 wounds, ignoring defense. It may do nothing else during that day. If passed, the hero gains 20 experience. Unfortunately, Pete is our strong person. And then we need to roll. Alright. That's for not. So we actually only need to protect 1. We just need the doctor's office. So Doc is a 3 strength, so he's going to be the highest. So he's going to go ahead and try to protect the doctor's office. Although Beschamel has a grit. 2 dice needing a 4. 3. You know what? Yeah, because Beschamel almost has no hit points either. So let's just do Doc. 3 dice needing a 4. Succeeds. Whew. Close. Alright, so he is protecting the doctor's office. So now we need to roll a d6 for each building. So the mutant quarter, again, not that it really matters, 1 or 2, it's burned down. The sheriff's office is fine. The church is burned down. Smuggler's Den is fine. The saloon is burned down. The doctor's office, is protected. The general store, so that 6 was for the general store. Alright. Doesn't make a big difference. We are on day 2. Alright, so they were both going to the doctor's office. So let's see what happens at the doctor's office for Beschamel. She gets an 11. Special mission. So she gets a specimen jar. Okay. I will probably not remember to use that. So, sorry. I apologize in advance. Even with a group of people, we almost never remember to use the specimen jar. And the doc at the doctor's office gets an 11 as well, so that is another specimen jar. So we have 2 specimen jars. He really needs to get those specimens. But hey, it's worth some money, so we'll see if we can remember. It does require going into another world too, so. Alright, let's go ahead and treat corruption. And we don't have a lot of money. In fact, we're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel here. Oh, and we wanted to buy bandages. So maybe we don't treat corruption, because it's $100 per. And we kind of spent all of our money, and the gambling didn't go real well. Oh, I forgot. Beschamel gets an extra D6 times 50 for gambling. So she gets an extra 50 because she gambled at the poker too. So, or the craps, I guess, the higher level one. So that helps. You know what? I think we're going to keep the. Of course, we also have this stack of Darkstone that we couldn't get rid of. So let's. Sorry about that. Let's ignore the corruption. What the heck? We'll ignore the corruption. We will simply. Let's buy bandages and then see what else we can do. I might treat one corruption of Beschamel or something like that. Doc does have, a good willpower. And Pete was the one that had a lot, having 3, the majority of them. So bandages are 50 each. If we load Doc up with 4 bandages, because he's got the 1 whiskey, we can have 5 tokens in there. So he gets 4 bandages at 50 each, so that is going to be 200. And then we consider grabbing 1 additional bandage, maybe, for Beschamel and Pete. Just because, Doc gonna pretty much use them. They can give the bandages to Doc. So the only disadvantage, obviously, is that Doc. He doesn't get extra experience for healing himself. But with the bonus of the extra points, so they'll be able to give him when he starts using bandages. They can give him the extra ones. So what does that leave us? That leaves us with 200 and 55 bucks left. So let's go ahead and get rid of the corruption on Beschamel. So true corruption, that's going to cost 200, 100 per point. And then roll a d6, 1, 2, or 3. She's going to take a d6 wounds for the next adventure. So she's going to take a d6 wounds. So she takes 3 wounds, which is fine. You know what? And Doc will immediately spend 1 of the bandages. Might as well. To make sure to heal those wounds. And then Doc is going to go ahead and use his field surgery. Except he doesn't currently have a grit. Oh, crap. He has to spend a grit. So, wait a minute. If I take that back, then let's not get rid of her corruption. We have to spend the money for her surgery. Because we would need to use it. He could use his grit at the start of the next adventure, but that seems kind of a waste. So let's go ahead and see what happens when, so it's going to cost her $50 for the surgery. Okay. Well, so theoretically she could actually get rid of both corruption too. Well, I'll probably only get rid of one though. And let's see what happens for her surgery roll. Gets a 5, so success. Her injury is healed. Huzzah! Alright. Well, yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and spend 100 to get rid of one of the corruptions. And, of course, she had the 3 wounds. I'll go ahead and keep that. Doc used one of his bandages, one of the 4 bandages he had, to get rid of that. There you go. So perfect. I think that's it. We're not going to stick around any longer. Let's see if there is a town event. There is a town event. Dun dun dun. So let's see what that event is. Alright, and the town event is a 10. The end is nigh. All prices in town are increased by $50. Alright. Not too exciting. Sorry about that. Event since we are leaving. But there you go. Money super tight. But Doc has been reborn. He has heard the voice, seen the light. Hallelujah. He is now holy. He's been converted, so he's got a holy book and a plasma sword. Very interesting combination of items. So that'll be pretty good. We do have a bunch of, we do have some bandages, and stocked up on bandages and whiskey a little bit anyway. We have a bunch of Darkstone we couldn't get rid of, so that's going to potentially be problematic at the end of next adventure. But if we can get to a blacksmith, or I guess conceivably a frontier outpost, or the street market in the next town, we can at least sell some of it and get some cash, get some moolah, some green, some cheddar, however you want to call it, and be able to buy. You replace the holy book with the tools of science to give him, dice combat equal to his cunning, so 4 instead of 3, and then we'll probably give him the looking glass or something else that ups his cunning, give him extra dice at that point, because everything that gives more cunning is more dice, up to the maximum of 6, which is the new maximum. Still, 6 dice is using d8s for damage is not a bad thing. That is going to be pretty good. Overall, not a horrible town stay. I had a little bit of, actually, I guess overall it was pretty good. We got the plasma sword. We didn't get rid of the corruption that we wanted, but we did pick up bandages and whiskey. We are very low on money, but not much else we can do. Said we still have a lot of the grit. We did get rid of the injury on Beschamel. Doc's was temporary; it was just a concussion, so it will be better at the start of the next adventure. Beschamel, unfortunately, does not start with. She starts with 1 less grit, so she starts with no grit, but she will start with her max fortune. Alright, and I think that's it. So, thanks for watching, and I will look forward to next adventure. I still haven't decided what adventure what mission we're going to do. We are a little bit better set up, although not greatly set up. I think once we hit level 2, we'll be in a better position to do some of the more difficult tasks, and I'll start thinking about adding in some more difficult enemies potentially the other, the more difficult other worlds, such as Derelict Ship and the Blasted Wastes, those kind of enemies as well. I also still need to put some enemies together. Things have still been pretty busy for me in real life, so I'm getting the episodes out, but I haven't had a lot of extra time to do painting and putting figures together. Putting figures together being the more immediate pressing concern, obviously, to allow me to use some of these other models as well. But probably things like I'm going to try to get some of the Black Fang tribes or things like that done. Some of the potentially easier enemies rather than some of the large, giant, epic enemies as well. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for your comments. I appreciate them. Anything you want to say, go ahead and say. I do appreciate it. I do know I make mistakes. I really enjoy doing this for you guys, although I also like playing, with other people. And that does make it easier to, keep track of all the little rules, especially with new characters. I'm still trying to remember these characters and their abilities. Recovering the grit each turn, trying to remember to use the lasso, docks, starting with recovering a grit at the start of every fight. I think I've missed that at least once, if not more than that, in the last adventure, right? So things like that where, I'm just juggling so much. This is kind of one of the reasons why I only went with 3 rather than 4 characters, and I'm trying to get this all juggled. But so I appreciate your patience with my learning. I know you guys are probably screaming at the video, do this, no, don't do that, hey, you forgot this. I know I've done that myself sometimes with various other videos that I've watched, playthroughs and things. Like, how do they not see that? It's just one of those things. Not just playing solo and keeping track of everything, but also the video and making sure everything's filming right, or you're getting all the rolls in, and that you're saying the right things. Right? That's trying to come up with things. This isn't scripted, so it's not like there are things memorized that I can just spout off. Trying to keep it interesting for you guys, trying to say things that will keep you guys interested and leave out some of the dead space and things like that. So anyway, I know I'm rambling, sorry. just really wanted to thank everybody for coming back or sticking with me during my absence this spring, and hoping everybody comes with, spread the word. I love doing this and having people watch and comment. So thanks again, and I will see you next week for an adventure. Bye.